You are Locked On Giants Postcast, part of Locked On Sports San Francisco on the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Yo, what's up, everyone, and welcome back to the Locked On Giants Postcast. I'm your host, Eric Triple E Engel. You may know me as the former producer for the Murph and Mac Morning Show on KMBR. And today, the Giants thoroughly whooped the Milwaukee Brewers at Oracle Park. Final score, 13-2. The 13 runs was a season high for the San Francisco Giants. And after pouring 4 runs on in the first inning, they jumped out to another 4-run inning in the second inning. We haven't seen this kind of output from this offense in a long time, or very often this season at all. And that was more than enough for Blake Snell, who spun 5 innings of 1-run ball tonight in just his 3rd win of the season. How is that even possible that this guy only has 3 wins so far in the entire 2024 campaign? We'll break it all down, but first, I want to thank all of you for watching us on the Locked On Sports San Francisco YouTube channel. Please, if you aren't already subscribed, hit that subscribe button right now. Thanks also for listening on the Locked On Giants podcast feed. However you're getting the show, we appreciate you tuning in. Make sure to check out the Locked On Giants Daily Show for more in-depth coverage. After making us your first listen following Giants games, you got to check out Ben Kaspick's Daily Show for your second listen and get all the news and numbers you need. And today's episode is brought to you by Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. And as I said, the Giants jumped out to a massive early lead. Yeah, Fitz led off the inning with a double right in the bottom of the first. Giants got 4 runs in that inning. As I said in the open, first one comes on a pass ball when the Giants have runners at the corners. And I believe they had 2 outs throughout this entire rally. I'm going to double check that real quick. And after that double, they had a line out and then a walk and then a pop out. So not the whole rally came with 2 outs, but Giants with 2 outs and runners at the corners, all 4 runs score with 2 outs. First one comes on a pass ball. Might have been ruled a wild pitch, but I feel like the catcher should have been able to block that one. It didn't really hit the dirt before it got to his glove. You got to get that one if you are a Major League Baseball catcher. So Fitz scores from third on the ball that gets to the backstop. Then a base hit scores that run from second. Ramos got over there after that ball got by Contreras as the backstop tonight. And Encarnacion then comes up and swats a 2-run bomb over to left field. What was Contreras? Yeah, Contreras didn't finish the game at catcher. Sorry, he started the game at catcher though. My bad. I had a little brain fart there. Anyways, Encarnacion swats a 2-run bomb over to right field, a low sweeper that was right down the heart of the plate, not low enough to generate a swing and miss. However, 4-0 Giants lead, and Encarnacion has really used that right field power a lot lately. I mean, this guy loves to go the opposite way. Feel like most of his extra base hits come to right field. I'm going to need to check up on that. I should have done that before I started the show, but I feel like just watching this guy and relying on the not so sharp Triple E memory bank, I'm pretty sure that this guy does most of his damage going the opposite way. Regardless of if it's most of his damage or not, he does a really good job of hitting Oppo Taco, and he shows it off today. He blasts another one out, and I really do like that Encarnacion has kind of come on the way that he has. The Giants pulled this guy off the scrap heap, and I'm not going to say too limited action anymore. He's batting .267, OPS at .767. So for a guy that they just went and randomly added in the middle of the season, that's some pretty solid contribution. Encarnacion, I believe that was his 4th home run of the season. And correct, his 4th home run of the season. It was only 353 feet, barely cleared that right field wall, a real wall scraper out there at Oracle Park. But still counts nonetheless. Plates 3 runs for the Giants after they scored those 2 runs for the Giants after they had already scored those 2 runs initially from the Lamont Wade Jr. single and from that ball that got all the way to the backstop for the Brewers. And the Giants take a 4-0 lead into the second inning after a shutdown inning from Blake Snell in the first. He had a bumpy second inning, threw a lot of pitches to get through. It took 34 pitches just to get through that second inning. And, he even had some assists from the likes of like Grant McCray, who made another great sliding catch in center field. Got to shout out the Giants outfield defense today, man. It was impressive watching Grant McCray and Elliot Ramos running down fly balls out there like nobody's business. And let me tell you, said it a few times, I'm going to say it again. The idea of a Grant McCray, Jung-Hoo Lee, and Elliot Ramos outfield sounds pretty damn enticing to me from a defensive perspective. That's going to be one of the best defensive outfields in all of baseball if you get those three out there next season. So I think that is going to be what we see. Although Mike Yastrzemski did have something to say about this in the bottom of the second inning. He's been really hot lately, and Yaz is really making a case to return to the Giants next year in a meaningful role. I mean, the end of this season, he has been on a tear, and I don't think that it's going to be enough to really change the Giants' direction. Honestly, I really don't. I think whatever decision that they had made about Yastrzemski, whether it's to bring him back as like a fourth outfielder, maybe a third/fourth outfielder, or maybe it's to just let him walk in free agency at the end of the year. I don't think he's arbitration eligible. I've seen some different things on this, but to my understanding, after your 6 years of service, you aren't arbitration eligible anymore. Mike Yastrzemski has now 6 years of major league service. I don't think he's arbitration eligible, but what do I know, man? I could be wrong about this. Anyways, the Giants have a decision to make on him. This is the last year of his contract. I wonder if he'll come back. That's one of the things that I really don't feel like I have a good read on with this Giants team. I think some other guys, like we know, probably very likely Michael Conforto's time is done here in San Francisco. I don't know about Mike Yastrzemski, but the way that he's been playing lately, like I said, I mean, really making a case for himself. Also, he's a great locker room guy. I mean, the Roberto Clemente nominee, he's a big part of the Mustache May thing for the Giants. So, I mean, he's been here forever, one of the longest tenured guys on this team. He's beloved for sure by a lot of the Giants players. And you know, Mike Yastrzemski has one of those later in his career kind of rookie call-ups, you know, like didn't see the bigs until he was like a 28-year-old rookie. So, I mean, this guy really didn't get his time in the majors until later in life, later in his major league career life of a baseball player in the big leagues is not super long, but you know, Mike Yastrzemski making the most of it here with his time with the Giants. He's been a pretty solid producer for the Giants. That home run today, I believe, was his 16th of the season. It got out in a hurry, man. It was a 3-run bomb. It was his 15th of the season. Scored Brett Wisely and Tyler Fitzgerald. So 3-run bomb gave the Giants at that point an 8-0 lead. They'd scored 1 run earlier in that inning on that Tyler Fitzgerald double, his second of the day. Scored Pat Bailey, who led off the inning with a double. So first 2 innings for the Giants, 2 home runs, 3 doubles, and they were 4 for 6 with runners in scoring position at this point. 4 for 6. This team can't even get more than 4 at-bats with runners in scoring position in a damn game lately, and let alone get 4 hits in those opportunities today. Ultimately, by the end of this one, Giants go 7 for 15, man. I don't know when the last time that I saw the Giants have 7 hits with runners in scoring position was. This was a really, really nice offensive day for this entire squad. I mean, the Giants, I think almost every single player, every player got a hit, not Elliot Ramos. The one guy who did not record a hit today, he still scored a run after he drew a walk in that first inning rally. Every other Giant who played today got a hit, including Marco Luciano, who came in to pinch hit for Matt Chapman, and Luis Matos, who came in to pinch hit for Mike Yastrzemski. That's a really good day at the yard. Giants in total had 17 hits today. So maybe save some for tomorrow, I guess. I don't know, man. You can't. Too bad they can't roll over some of these this run differential into tomorrow to help them out in the final game of this Giants Brewers series, which they will get going tomorrow. 6 p.m. I believe is the first pitch. And I mean, the Giants, it would be nice to have a series win. They have been playing pretty bad baseball lately. Coming into this one, they were 10 games under 500 in I think their last 26 games, 36 games, something like that. So the Giants have really been playing not so great lately. They've dropped 10 of their last 15 games at Oracle Park. So getting a win here is important. I think it's also good for them to get to actually start winning some series again, because they've had a hard time doing that. They did win in San Diego against the Padres. Might be able to put together back-to-back winning series for the Giants here. And you're seeing a lot of young kids play. Every night we're seeing a large amount of these rookies in the starting lineup. And if they're not starting, then they're being subbed in at halfway points of the game. And that's going to build some confidence for these young kids if they can string together some series wins, especially against good teams like the Padres playoff team, Brewers playoff team. So maybe gives you a little bit of confidence going forward. I want to also say, yes, the Giants are 16-26 in their all their games since August 11th. So that's not good. Or they have lost 16 of their last 26 games. So not very good. Not very good at all. 10-16 since August 11th. Excuse me. I'm having my dyslexia is just really kicking my butt today, man. But the Giants, they do pull this one out, a 13-2 shellacking of the Milwaukee Brewers out there at Oracle Park. And as I said, pretty much, damn near every single Giant scored in this one. Doubles, Fitzgerald had 2, Yaz had 1, Matos had 1, Luciano had 1, and Wade had 1. That is a lot of doubles for the Giants. And Matt Chapman, also, we got to mention, Matt Chapman went yard in the 4th inning, his 24th of the season. Matt Chapman just solo home run because just before he hit his, Mike Yastrzemski had hit his home run to make it a 9-1 lead. Matt Chapman's solo home run to left gave the Giants a 10-1 lead. As I said, his 24th of the season, 400 feet, 108 miles an hour off the bat. And for whatever reason, Rhea was still in the game at this point, and the Giants are just feasting off this guy. Not very great since I streamed this guy in fantasy baseball this week. I figured Giants weren't doing very good. Maybe I was gonna get a little something from Rhea, who's not been the best pitcher this year, but certainly hasn't been terrible for the Brewers. And not a great decision for your boy Triple E in the fantasy baseball realm, but great choice for the Giants to actually show up and start hitting today for once, because man, oh man, this team has just been so bad hitting lately. Last night, I think they were 0 for 4 with runners in scoring position. Today, they get 15 opportunities with runners in scoring position and 7 hits. That's damn near a 500 batting average in those situations. That's absolutely insane for a team that's, historically bad with runners in scoring position, worse than they've been in the last decade and a half throughout this year. So, a good thing to build on if you're the Giants. And we got to mention Blake Snell also. He tossed 5 innings in this one, only gave up 4 hits and 1 run. Was not very efficient. This was a very prototypical Blake Snell start. 95 pitches, only 61 strikes, 3 groundouts, 3 flyouts, 8 strikeouts, 2 walks, 1 hit over, or 4 hits, 1 run over those 5 innings of work for Blake Snell on the mound today. And as I said, he had moments where he battled, where he didn't look like he was really sharp, specifically, like he was just pressing too hard to get that strikeout, and he just needed to just go out there and be loose and pitch the damn ball. And so for some reason, he just has these moments where I think he's pressing too hard for a strikeout, and you see him throw a ton of borderline pitches that just don't get swings and misses, and that's what was happening there in the 2nd inning for Snell. But he battled through it, kept going. I was kind of concerned because, his last outing, he didn't make it out of the 1st inning when he threw 50-something pitches, and he just got gassed out after that 1st inning. So I was really hoping that wasn't going to be a repeat tonight, and thankfully it wasn't. We also saw Sean Jelly and Warren come in. Austin Warren, another sighting from him today, and both pitched really well. Warren did give up 1 run, only 2 hits on the night. Jelly didn't give up anything, gave up 1 walk. Warren also walked 2 guys. Would have liked to see him not really walk as many guys and maybe have a little bit better command of that strike zone. But, the dude was hurt for most of the season. He's allowed to have some hiccups now and again towards the end of this one, the 2024 season. With the win, the Giants are now 72-74, 2 games under 500. And, just a couple weeks left to play. We're sitting here on September 11th, and we don't have that much more time in this 2024 season to see what this Giants team is going to do. So some positive things to build on from an offensive perspective for sure. Let's get into that a little bit more on the other side. Take a quick break here on the Locked On Giants postcast and get into a little bit more about what this offensive turnaround really looked like for the Giants and how they did it at the dish tonight. Stick with us on the Locked On Giants postcast. I'm your host, Eric Triple E Engel. We'll be right back. Today's show is sponsored by Gametime. I love live events, from concerts to sporting events and everything in between, and I rely on Gametime to get my tickets. Gametime has a new feature called Gametime Picks that makes getting tickets for your favorite live events even easier. Gametime Picks filters out the fluff to show you only incredible deals on great seats, so you don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets. I also love the all-in pricing feature. Toggling this feature on shows the total upfront with no surprise fees at checkout. I hate surprise fees almost as much as I've hated this 2024 season for the San Francisco Giants, but I think I might hate those surprise fees just a little bit more. So make sure you toggle that all-in pricing feature on. It doesn't work unless you toggle it on. So yeah, make sure you do that. Gametime also gives customers the lowest price guarantee, and Gametime will credit you 110% of the difference if you find a better deal. And with Gametime ticket coverage, your purchase is covered with the most flexible customer service policy in the ticketing industry. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. Receipt of copy does not constitute an order. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off. Download Gametime today. What time is it? Game time. Welcome back to the Locked On Giants postcast. I'm your host, Eric Triple E Engel, and I'm just taking a peek at the chat. And my guy Geep, Geep, I'm not sure how you say that, man, but he's asking what the heck happened tonight. And dude, I wish the Giants could do this every night. Obviously 13 runs is completely unrealistic to expect for a team every night, but the Giants have, I feel like, had these big offensive explosions so few and far between. I believe in the second half, they've only scored double-digit runs. I think this is just the second time. They scored 11 runs back on Friday, the July 26th against the Colorado Rockies. And yeah, that was the last time the Giants had double-digit runs in a game. And that's also the only time since the All-Star break that they've done this. So the Giants have, offensively, not been having these like huge scoring outputs. It's not like they did it a bunch earlier this year either. There were a few times, especially earlier in the season, where the Giants, they scored 11 against Tampa Bay on April 13th, and they scored, they gave up 17 to the Diamondbacks on April 19th, if you remember that one. But the Giants just really haven't scored double digits a ton. 10 runs against the Rockies on May 11th. It's just not something that we've seen this team do very frequently. And of course, they scored 13 runs against the Angels on June 16th. That was the current high watermark for this season in runs scored, and that was how many they played it tonight too. So they tie a season high output in runs scored today, which is great because the Giants really have been struggling a lot, especially at home. They've dropped 10 of their last 15, dating back to August 11th, and they've been held to 3 runs or fewer in 8 of those 15 games. So the Giants offense has really been to blame for this really, not great second half of the season. It's not like the first half was much better either. It's been rough, man. Just straight up, it's been rough watching this team. And at least it gives you something to have fun with. When's the last time that you had a stress-free Giants game that you were watching? They've had so many one-run games lately. It's got to feel good, especially for your pitchers like Blake Snell and a guy like Sean Jelly, who has just been, I feel like used in every really bad situation for the Giants this year. What a great time for them to just be able to go out there and pitch without really stressing too much. We talk a lot in these one-run games about the amount of pressure on every single pitch that these pitchers are facing. You need games like today to kind of give your guys a night off, even when they're out there on the mound. And I'm sure Blake Snell is not feeling too much like he had a night off when he's sitting there pressing to get those 8 strikeouts because he's got to, dude's just got to strike out everybody he faces apparently. But the guy like Sean Jelly and Austin Warren, I'm sure Warren's not pressing when he's walking a couple guys, giving up a couple hits, surrenders a run. He knows he's got a little bit of a leash there. And so does Sean Jelly. Both relievers pitched 2 innings tonight each, so 4 innings out of the bullpen after Snell's 5 on the mound to start this one. So they use a minimum amount of relievers. That's another benefit to this, because if this was a close one-run game, you probably see at least another 1 or 2 relief pitchers out of the bullpen. You're certainly seeing Ryan Walker in the 9th. And this just, it feels a lot different. The Giants, I feel so loose right now, man. I'm sitting here smiling, like laughing, watching this game. Like I didn't feel like all sweaty and stressed out and intense. And I mean, man, I could get used to this. If the Giants maybe started hitting more, maybe we just wouldn't have to be dealing with this, man. I mean, it would prevent you from having all these one-run games. It would prevent all the stress of the season. You probably wouldn't be a couple games under 500 if this offense was just marginally better. I mean, when the Giants hit, they actually win. I mean, it's a pretty straightforward thing in the game of baseball. Like, you score more runs than your opponent, you win. But when the Giants score specifically 4 or more runs, they're 55-26 this year. When they score 3 or fewer, they're 16-48. Obviously, if you score 13, now they're 2-0 when you score 13. But this is really the key. The Giants have been so bad offensively all year long, especially with runners in scoring position. We've talked about this ad nauseum. But when you score, 4 or more runs, you win. Almost double the rate that you lose at. And it's pretty straightforward for this team. Like, you got a good bullpen, you got a good starting staff. It's been tough. It's been tough. And there was one more thing I wanted to mention since we were taking a peek at that chat earlier today. We got someone in the chat saying Yaz better stay. And he's also saying that McRae could be another Schmidt or Mato, start off hot and now gets cold. Let's address that on the other side, because I do think this is an interesting question. It's one of the things that is still undecided going into next year, and we don't really have a lot of position battles really happening unless the Giants go and sign a bunch of free agents to take over for guys like, what are they going to do at first base? Are we going to run it back with Lamont Wade Jr., or are the Giants going to go and get a guy, maybe like a Reese Hoskins? Like, there's a lot of guys out there that the Giants could go and get. And of course, you got Bryce Eldridge waiting in the wings to come back up, but to come up, not back up, but to make his debut with the Giants. Him coming up next year would be a bit of a stretch. I'm not saying the kid can't do it with the tear that he's been on in the minors. It is, I think on the table, which is completely insane to say, but I think it is with how good this guy has been. Only 19 years old. This guy could make his MLB debut at 20, potentially some point next year, maybe in the second half of the season. But what are they going to do in the outfield? I think that's a valid question, because you got all these young guys and you got a couple holdovers, the likes of Mike Yastrzemski. In nights like tonight, Yaz, a big night for him tonight. Do you want him back next year in your Giants outfield? Yaz went 2 for 4, scored a run on that 3-run bomb, had 4 RBIs tonight, now batting .240 on the season, the OPS 758. Let's talk about what you guys want to see in your San Francisco Giants outfield next year. Let me know in the comments. We'll be right back. Going to take a quick break here. On the other side, diving a little bit into what this Mike Yastrzemski tear at the end of the season means for the Giants outfield next season. We're going to take a quick break here on the Locked On Giants postcast. I'm your host, Eric Triple E Engel. We'll be right back. And today's show is also sponsored by PrizePicks. PrizePicks is America's #1 daily fantasy sports app with over 5 million active members. PrizePicks is the easiest and most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. And unlike other apps on PrizePicks, it's just you against the numbers, baby. All you do is pick more or less on 2 to 6 player stat projections and watch those winnings roll in. You can now win up to 100 times your money on PrizePicks with as little as 4 correct picks. You can turn $10 into $1,000. Sign up today and get $50 instantly when you play just $5. You don't even need to win to receive that $50 bonus. It's guaranteed. PrizePicks invented the flex play, which means you can still cash out even if your lineup isn't perfect. You can double your money even if one of your picks doesn't hit. Download the PrizePicks app today and use code LOCKEDONMLB and get $50 instantly when you play just $5. That's Locked On MLB on PrizePicks to get $50 instantly when you play $5. You don't even need to win to get that $50 bonus. It's guaranteed. PrizePicks, run your game. Welcome back to the Locked On Giants postcast. I'm your host, Eric Triple E Engel, and today this Giants, they really lay it on the Brewers. 13-2 win out at Oracle Park, which is really good because the Giants have been down bad at Oracle lately. This offense sputtering, to say the least. Although the Giants did win their series against San Diego, it has been really, you're losing series against teams like the Marlins. Seems like the month of August, the Giants just lost like 100 different one-run games, and it feels like I aged 100 years watching each and every one of those games. But the Giants today, it was a nice, comfortable win, which they have not had very many of this season. And a guy who was at the center of it, and especially in the beginning of this one, was Mike Yastrzemski. Smashed a 3-run home run, had an RBI later on in this one as well. 4 RBIs for Yaz, a 2-for-4 day, and I really like what Mike Yastrzemski has been doing in the second half of the season. Of course, he's a guy who brings his glove to the yard every single day. We've talked a lot about how Yaz really is, I feel like, not given nearly enough credit for the defense he plays in right field for the Giants. I think he's definitely a plus glove out there in right. Probably the best defender in Oracle Park, playing that wall in right field. Hunter Pence was nice, but I don't think he ever got as comfortable as Mike Yastrzemski is out there. I think you're splitting the hairs between the two guys, but I might take Mike Yastrzemski at least defensively, not all around player wise, but just defensively, maybe over a Hunter Pence for his defense out there in right. But is he gonna be back next year? This is a guy who, the Giants don't really have a commitment to next year. Of course, he's been I'm not going to say a lifelong Giant, because he wasn't a guy who came up in the organization's farm. He was in the Orioles system, I believe, before he came over to the Giants. And the Giants, they found a diamond in the rough, as far as I'm concerned. Mike Yastrzemski over these last 6 years has really been a lot of times a bright spot for this team, which in the early Farhan Zaidi years was really, 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 really bad. And not saying that things have changed too much now. I'm not giving Farhan a fire escape exit on this one. The Giants are 72-74. They're not a good team, and we can't pretend like they are either and give this guy a free pass. I think his seat's got to be the hottest in all of baseball at the start of next season, when I'm going to say when at this point, he returns as the Giants GM, and he's going to have some offseason decisions to make. Of course, I'm making an assumption here by saying Farhan is going to be back, but he's handing out, giant extensions to Matt Chapman. I don't think you're getting a GM out of there who's giving out $150+ million extensions to guys. So I'm assuming he's going to be the guy who makes a really big decision on Mike Yastrzemski. And as I've said before, I said it in the show, my ideal Giants outfield for next year, I've made no bones about it. It's Jung-Hoo Lee and Grant McCray and Elliot Ramos. That's who I want in my Giants outfield next year. If McCray fails, let him fail. Put him out there for the first month or two of the season, and if he doesn't have it, then move on. And if let him fail in April and May, rather than in the middle of the season when they decided to bring up Matos and then send him up and then make him drive up and down I-80 like once a week between San Francisco and Sacramento, because they couldn't decide where they wanted to put this guy. And that's the one thing I don't want to see. If you go with Grant McCray in the beginning of next season, then go with Grant McCray for an extended period of time and let him try to work through the inevitable slump that he's going to have at the dish. Someone said earlier that he could be like a Schmidt or Matos and start off hot and then end up cold. With those two guys specifically, how many times have we seen them get brought up and sent back down and brought back up and sent back down and used in these platoon positions where they're not getting extended looks or playing time? It affects young guys' mental set, and that matters so much in baseball. It's not a measurable stat, so it's not something that we can quantify. And for all the random things that I personally think are useless that we quantify, with all the weird advanced metrics in baseball now, I don't really need BABIP. I don't really need like XFIP and things like that. But one thing that I wish we did have a measure for was like what your mindset does for you on the field. And of course we don't, but look at a guy like Tyler Beatty, look at a guy like Joey Bart. Both of these guys had all the tools to be all-star level talent. Literally all-star level caliber players, just didn't have the mental set for it. And they didn't pan out as big league guys for the Giants. And I don't want to see this happen to Grant McCray. I can already kind of feel this happening to Luis Matos, and I'm pretty sure it's already happened to Casey Schmidt. I don't think that there's really, I don't, at least with the Giants, I don't see Schmidt panning out and working out and being like a mainstay with the big league club. I just don't. Same with David VR. He's in that same group as well. I think David VR had a lot of potential to be maybe not like the everyday third baseman, but I thought that guy had some pop. I mean, we've talked about the thick lower half of a David VR before, generating a lot of power from those hips, man. And I just don't want to see Grant McCray jerked around and thrown into AAA and then back up to the big league squad. Like if he's called up and sent down more than like a couple times in the first 2 months of the season next year, I'm gonna be upset, man. And I'm not saying I don't want to see Mike Yastrzemski. I would be really happy if the Giants brought back Mike Yastrzemski as a fourth outfielder, because you're not going to get another guy who knows how to play this right field better. In 240 batting average is not the worst thing in the world, especially when you consider how bad he was at the beginning of this year. For him to be able to lift it up in the second half all the way up to 240, I mean, I say all the way, that it seems like a lot higher now in today's baseball world than it did even just a couple years ago. But I don't think that I just don't think that there's going to be room for him next year in that outfield on an everyday basis. But I do think that you're still going to need a guy to come in and play right and give you some at-bats. And I think Yaz is a good option for that. He's a solid defender. He's played in these, weird platoons for quite a while. So I don't think he's going to, be a guy who's, like Jock Peterson, who's just like, I don't really want to be here. I want to play every single day kind of guy. I think Mike Yastrzemski would be okay with a platoon role. He's never played for another big league squad. He's only played for the San Francisco Giants at the major league level, and I think he fits in well here in San Francisco. Obviously, he fits in well in the clubhouse with the Mustache May thing. I would really like the Giants to bring back Mike Yastrzemski. One thing that I do want to say, I've been trying to ease up on my Michael Conforto hate lately, but I just will say, dude didn't play tonight. Giants got to win 13-2. Michael Conforto's at-bats have been really uninspiring yesterday. 0 for 4 with 4 strikeouts from that guy. I don't want to see him back in a Giants uniform. I don't care if it's in a platoon role. I am pretty tired of the Michael Conforto experiment and what we were promised on that guy and what we ended up getting. Doesn't match up. But Mike Yastrzemski is the exact opposite. He's a guy that when the Giants went out and got him, he was a diamond in the rough. We never expected Mike Yastrzemski when he came over from the Orioles organization to be with the Giants and be an effective contributor to this team for 6 seasons. I don't think anybody had that in their Giants crystal ball back in 2017 when the Giants had this guy make his Giants debut. I don't think that was the case. But if it is the end for Mike Yastrzemski, it's been a pretty solid run, man. And I'm glad that the Giants were able to get him nominated for the Roberto Clemente Award for all the work that Mike Yastrzemski does with mental health and everything that he does in the not just in the month of May, not just Mustache May isn't just a 1 month thing. This guy's doing charity work all season long, and he's a good dude. He's been a solid contributor. He hasn't been a guy who stirred the pot literally ever the entire time he's been a Giant. I'm nothing but a tip of the cap to Mikey Yaz, and obviously one of the most iconic names in baseball history. Just cleared his 100th home run as a Giant in his big league career. So I've enjoyed watching Mikey Yaz in the black and orange, and I hope he's back next year. Although I really don't want to see him in an everyday role. I would like to see him in a backup role and be that safety net for if Grant McCray fails, maybe if there's some injuries in the outfield next year. I mean, God knows the Giants are very susceptible to injuries. We saw what happened all season long this year, and it completely derailed this team. So there's a lot of work to do in the offseason, a lot of holes that they got to fill. Is Blake Snell coming back? Who knows? I mean, there's a lot of things that the Giants need to figure out. This outfield is one of them. And what are they going to do with Mike Yastrzemski? I personally hope they bring him back. I just don't want him to be like a mainstay staple, like corner outfielder that you're relying on to hopefully cross your fingers, hit 20 home runs and drive in like at least 80 RBIs. But that's, it's a lot to ask for a Mike Yastrzemski, especially in the later years of his career. That's about all the time that we got for you guys on this show today. 13-2 Giants win over the Brewers. With the win, climb back up 72 and 74. Just the never-ending climb to 500 continues. This has happened all season long, man. The Giants are allergic to winning baseball. As soon as they get up over 500, they free fall back down below. So we'll see if they can finish this season out and maybe end with a winning record. That would be nice. I think that would be a nice little moral victory for the Giants. And unfortunately, that's all that they can play for right now is these moral victories, because you're not playing for, a trip to the playoffs. You're not playing for October baseball. You're playing for next season at this point, seeing what you got with the young kids. And I like what I'm seeing from McRae, even though he didn't have the best day at the plate today, just 1 for 5, no RBIs, no runs scored, nothing like that, no walks. Didn't strike out either, but he brings a glove to the yard every day, and that's something that I can't say about a lot of these other rookies on the Giants. Thanks for watching today. Thanks for tuning in. It was a long Giants game. This one just felt like it would never end. The Giants kept hitting, 17 hits, 13 runs for the Giants. A lot of really great outfield play, too. Elliot Ramos made that sliding play on the left field line in the 9th inning, made a couple other great snags. Grant McRae sliding catch in center field early in this one. Really great outfield play all night long, and every Giant got a hit except for Elliot Ramos, who did score a run on after he drew a walk. So shout out the Giants. Also, only struck out 6 times today. Hell yeah. They need to do that more, man. I need them to strike out less than 10 times every single night for the rest of the way. We'll cross our fingers, but it won't happen. They'll inevitably revert back to what they're used to, but we can enjoy this 13-run output for one night at least. So thanks for tuning in to the Locked On Giants postcast. I'm your host, Eric Triple E Engel. That's all we got for you today. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you next time. Peace.